Does size matter? When it comes to boating, it does. You need the room. Hi, I'm Sean from Cove Lessons in Boating, and we see fairly regularly two-foot-itis as a common disease in the boat business. What does that mean? You buy a boat, and almost immediately within the first couple of years, you decide, hey, I want something a little bigger. And that could just be because you're excited and you want something new, and hey, this is a great thing to do and I want a bigger boat. Sometimes, a lot of it is that people buy too small of a boat on their first one. And budget is really important here because the larger the boat, typically they're more expensive. The biggest reason for that is, yes, there's more material in it, but usually the bigger boat makes heavier and means you're going to need more power. And boat engine drives the price of boats significantly. So while you're shopping, let's talk about some of the things you're going to want to consider when you're thinking about boat buying pricing. 1, cost of boat ownership. Check out this video here if you want a guide on how much boats really cost. But the transactional cost of buying and then selling or trading a boat and the depreciation is probably one of the most expensive parts of boat ownership. The maintenance, the fuel, the insurance really is secondary to how much they go down over time. And even though they hold their value very well, no one will pay for a used one what a new one is worth. So every time you transact and every time you sell or trade your boat, it's going to be a cost to you, all other things being equal. You get weird blips, but for the most part, when you trade or sell, it's going to cost you money. So what are some of the factors that you should consider? Who's going to be boating is probably the most important part. And I can almost guarantee you, if you think only 2 or 3 people are going to go boating, double that. Boating is something that everybody wants to do, but not everybody can afford or wants to take the risk of doing themselves. So if you do buy a boat, make sure you're thinking about not only who's coming on the first ride, but who might come on the 5th and the 10th ride. So err on the side of caution. Give everybody on board some space to lounge out and have a little extra room in case extra people that you're not thinking about love to boat. 2, the body of water that you're on. Boating in rough water can feel a little scary, and the larger the boat, typically with the more displacement, more surface area on the water, is going to be safer and feel safer and drier. So if you're on a big body of water and you can afford a slightly larger boat, we would always recommend it. Gear and storage. When you go boating for the day or even a few hours, you're going to need things on board. You're going to need towels and life jackets and coolers and food and lawn chairs, and etc., etc., etc. Wakeboards, tubes, these things all take up space. So a slightly larger boat with more storage is going to allow you to have those things on board without feeling like they're on your lap. Resale value. The boat market tends to slowly shift up over time. Like our vehicles that we drive on the road are all slightly larger now than they were 10 years ago. Boat size, that is average for the consumer, has also grown. When I was growing up and worked on the docks in the 80s, the typical cottage boat was a 15 or 16 foot runabout, and we had hundreds of them in storage. Now those storage spaces are all either have PWC wave runners in them, or they have larger storage spaces, and now the typical average bow rider is 21 to 23 feet, and it's only getting bigger. So as time goes on, the slightly larger boat, which has more appeal on the resale market, it's probably going to hold its value better. Thanks for joining us on today's video. And it really is important for you to figure out if you've got a large enough boat for the crew that you know you have and the crew that probably is going to come along. Size does matter when it comes to boating, and we hope to see you out there.